Short video today. I hope everybody's having a great holiday wherever you are in the world. Budget decks below 5,000 dust, way below 5,000 dust. I think this is the cheapest dust decks we've seen in probably a year since I've been working on the budget deck videos every week. They're very, 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 very cheap. Not going to go into anything too crazy. The metas, it is what it is, and I'm saying that because some people love it, some people think it's perfect, some people absolutely hate it. I think that's normally the way it is all the time, but yeah, we definitely need a mini set. For those of you that are on a budget, which is what this video is about, you know, normally the mini sets are a great thing for a budget player because, you know, you could buy them with gold, 1,000 gold, or 10 bucks, super cheap, or 14 bucks. And it gives you a lot of options to throw into your deck. Last mini set really didn't do that. A lot of the cards were not really just, you know, added to anything. Yes, you can use it for dust, but I don't know why you would want to do that. So I'm hoping the next mini set, the StarCraft theme mini set, we're going to hear about super soon, probably right after the holidays. So I'm excited about that. But let's just get into the decks right now. I don't want to waste anybody's time. This is the lowest I've ever seen Handbuff Paladin. This is at 720 dust. Now, I've only seen like 500 games total being played of this. That's what it says in here. And I'm pretty impressed. This one is just amazing. There is 2 legendaries, but you do not have to spend any money on those legendaries. We've talked about Handbuff Paladin several times now. And one of the things that's different about this one is it's got Warsong Grunt in it. Warsong Grunt, you know, is in that Grunter Hunter that we've talked about a couple of weeks ago. Maybe it was last week as well. This being buffed could potentially clear your opponent's board because, you know, this one's rush. After this attacks, kills a minion, it may attack again. I call this one personally, the entire deck, I call it Guitar Hunter because it has an air guitarist in here, which just gives your weapon +1 durability. It's a super cheap card. It's a minion that you can also buff for just, you know, keep it in hand to buff it out if you want, but it's gonna give your weapon a bump, and you want that with 1 durability, being able to give the minions in your hand +1/+1, plus you have lifesteal, plus 2, you know, hit lifesteal. So that's pretty cool. You have 2 of those in the deck, as well as you have, like we said before, we've talked about Handbuff Paladin Instrument Tech, and that's to draw your weapon. So, of course, make sure that if you don't have a weapon, you're, you know, mulliganing for Instrument Tech, and then make sure that you do not use Air Guitarist until you have Painter's Virtue running. And then it's normal hand buff that we've been dealing with. Righteous Protector, it's in there. Scarab Keychain, discover a 2-cost card. I think that's just, you know, it's just in there. This one, I'm not sold on having to be there. There's, you know, other cards that you can put in if you don't want to just craft this one. South Sea Deckhand, we know how awesome this can be when the weapon is equipped. It has charge. It's just another budget Leroy, if you will. Gold Panner, at the end of your turn, draw a card. Card draw is good. You want to get as many things in your hand as possible so you can play Grime Street. Obviously, give all minions in your hand +1/+1. We talked about Instrument Tech. That's to draw the weapon. Droomscavate, give a minion Divine Shield and Excavated Treasure. Treasures are good. 2 treasures are even better. You have 2 of these, and then giving that minion Divine Shield could either, you know, keep that minion from being killed right away, or more difficult to kill, as well as the fact is maybe this could take some damage to that opponent's board that you still want to keep that minion on your hand as well, on your deck as well. Acolyte of Pain. This one is an awesome card. This one is core, so shouldn't cost you anything. Muscleatron, great card. Outfit Tailor. You want this one in your deck, in your hand as quickly as possible. All of these are beneficial. Acolyte of Pain is amazing if it's buffed because it's just taking multiple hits of damage and drawing that card. Tigress Plushie, Leroy like normal, and then Nomelia, which is also another awesome card. The thing that I like about Handbuff, and, you know, someone had asked me today, like, hey, you know, is out of all the starter decks, which one's good right now? Handbuff. I mean, Handbuff has been just super consistent for months now. And there are people playing a modified version, heavily modified version of the Handbuff Paladin to Legend. So this one, if you're just starting out day one, you have a couple of 100 dust, go ahead and you can craft this one, and then you can, as you go through and start winning games, winning packs, getting gold, what have you, you can go ahead and craft something even more superior to this. And then obviously if you're playing this game for the first time, the starter deck is going to have everything you need in this the starter deck. It's the same cards almost. I think there's maybe like 2 or 3 cards that are different between the starter deck the loaner deck that you get, and this one right here. Just super versatile. Hopefully you like playing Paladin. Paladin's awesome. I love playing Paladin, and I've said that multiple times, probably like 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. And then, yeah, we're going to talk about Elemental Mage. And Elemental Mage, we had a little bit of adjustment from last week, I believe. This is at 1,320 dust. I will check to make sure I'm correct on that. Yeah, so this is even cheaper than last week. So this one's it's Elemental Mage. Your hero power will be useful to you from time to time, but that's not the main reason. There's not a lot of things in here that's going to be needing the hero power. You're just using spells and elementals, and all the elementals work with each other. Some of them give you cool things. Some of them give you even cooler things. This one adds an elemental to your hand. Super cheap elemental to your hand. Flame Geyser. We know what this one does. It deals 2 damage and then adds that elementals. You want to go ahead and you want to make sure you have Glacial Shard. This one's a great card because it freezes those crazy enemies from smacking you in the noggin. Tar Slime, great card. Aqua Anarchist. The next elemental you play costs 2 less. This will help you. Flame Revenant, after you summon an elemental, give it +1/+1. So you can go ahead and throw this out after like 4 or 5 mana, and then a couple of those Fireflies or Flame Geysers, and they're just really big and heavy on board. Jail Spider, if you played an elemental last turn, draw a card. You're going to play elementals most likely. Spontaneous Combustion, give 4 damage to a random enemy. If you played an elemental, choose the target. You're going to play elementals, so you're going to choose the target there. Blazing Accretion, I can't say that word, I apologize. Destroy the top 3 cards in your deck. Any fire spells or elementals are drawn instead. You're not gonna worry about burning any of these cards or destroying any of these cards because they're elementals or fire spells. Molten Rune, amazing card, amazing fire spell. Use it. Cast twice after you forge it. Please make sure you're forging that. Lamplighter, if you played an elemental last turn, deal 4 damage. You're playing elementals. I'm hoping you all are seeing the pattern here. Overflow Surger, summon a copy of this for each turn in a row you've played an elemental. Keep this one as long as you can because you could possibly have a board of 3/2s. Maybe it's not crazy strong, but a full board full of 3/2s is better than a board with a 1/2. 1/1/2. One single 1/2. Unchained Gladiator, draw a card, repeat each elemental you played last turn. So when you're doing that crazy turn where you're playing a bunch of Fireflies or the Flame Elementals, maybe you can, draw a bunch of cards. Solar Flare, deal 2 damage to all enemies, cost 1 less for each elemental you control. So that's another thing. You could potentially play Solar Flare at 0 mana depending on how many elementals are on the board. And then Tainted Revenant, if you played an elemental last turn, deal 7 damage randomly split between all enemies. Obviously, the name of the game is taking your opponent's health to 0. So the suggestion would be with this one would be wait until you have a lot of, that your opponent doesn't have a lot of minions on board. And then you can hit the opponent's face, if you will. The thing I like about this deck as well is Elemental's not that crazy heavy in anything past bronze through gold. That's what we're trying to do, but it still has something there. I'm just going to show you real quick. So if we go into the decks and we go into Mage, we're just going to look at, Elemental Mage, and we're just going to look at last 30 days, if you will. Let's just try it that way. There is we saw there's a lot of elemental mages. It goes from the lowest amount, so we spent 1,320 dust for this, but elemental mage just gets more and more expensive. There's more cards you can add to it. You can make adjustments. Here's at 6,000. Here's at 3,600. And then when you go to diamond, it's still there. So you'll be able to go past the gold with this deck. Let's even go to legend. Yeah, so I mean, there's people right now that are playing this deck or modified versions of this deck. Don't get me wrong, you're gonna have to spend a little bit more to do that, but elemental mage will get you all the way to legend if you're playing it right and if you modify that deck. There's some legendaries that you're going to need. So for example, if you're running through, maybe you can't see that. So Sarune's going to be something right now played in an elemental mage, so it'll bump it out a lot more. But the cool thing is, like I said, you can start this bronze 10 right now for 1,320 dust, and with a little bit of work, a little bit of persistence, and a modified version of this, you could go all the way to legend. And it's like I said, the same thing is happening for Handbuff Paladin as well. Next, we're going to talk about Weapon Rogue, and we're going to do that almost the same thing. Right now, if you look at Rogue, let's just go and look at Rogue right now. Rogue has decks that are being played, almost the exact same deck. Almost. In fact, I'm looking at it right now, and I can't see any difference between these two decks. This is winning games in Legend. Winning a lot of games, a 54.1% win rate right now, and it looks like the same exact deck as we're about to talk about. And let's talk about it. Weapon Rogue. Yeah, preparation. So look, if I'm looking at both of these, I'm not seeing anything different. This deck is 2,160 dust, 60.9% win rate, bronze through gold. This will get you to Legend. That's pretty awesome for that low amount. Yeah, preparation, deadly poison, deafen. We know what these do. Deafen is an amazing card. It just silences the minion. You're not really worried about the 2 damage to it. You're worried about silencing it. So whatever crazy effects it has, a Yogg or anything other nutty than that, it just silences it and they can't use that crazy effect anymore. The main thing you're trying to do is you're trying to get your weapon as strong as possible for this. That's what they're calling it, Weapon Rogue. Get your weapon out. You can also use your hero power to bring that weapon out if you don't have quick pick, but all of these spells are essentially just building up your weapon to be as strong as possible, to hit your opponent for that weapon damage as many times as possible. You have O Manager that's going to combo and get you a coin after it does 2 damage. You got Dubious Purchase, destroy a random enemy minion. That's perfect, especially right now in this day and age. Yeah, Sharp Shipment, give your weapon +2/+2. Mic Drop, draw 2 cards, and then the finale is give your weapon +2 attack. Essentially, it's Weapon Rogue. This deck is so interesting that my wife started playing this. My wife is a Mage main. She doesn't play anything else but Mage. And she wanted to play Weapon Rogue because she thought it looked interesting. It's very good. Again, all of these decks will get you through bronze through gold. Absolutely, but with a little bit of persistence, and like I said, on Weapon Rogue, it won't be anything. It's you can hit Legend with these decks, and that's the cool thing about it. Until we hear about the mini set coming out, until we see anything different there, obviously, I'm going to talk a lot about the mini set as soon as we see any news coming out from what the cards are or what have you, how it will work from a budget value, if you will, how it will change the meta. We'll talk about all of that. But until then, I will see you in the next video.